Welcome to the Fi Guys and Fi Friday feedback, where today we are recapping the ultimate guide towards bankruptcy and debt relief.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah, bankruptcy!
Bankruptcy! Yeah!
I declare bankruptcy!
Listen, as my time in the vast trenches of Monopoly, I've had to declare it a few times.
Yeah.
You know, just a few times. But apparently bankruptcy is a real thing in the real world. They didn't pull it from Monopoly.
It is a real thing in the real world, and unfortunately it is not as easy as with Monopoly, where you just flip the board and go home.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that. My dad was cheating his butt off, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. Woof, flip it, and we just, start over.
I'm done.
I'm done. File for bankruptcy. Chapter 11 or Chapter 7 or 13?
Probably not Chapter 11, that's for businesses, but Chapter 13 you definitely can do. Or 7, whatever you want.
I made the mistake of going with Chapter 12. I am a fisherman with an actual income. Look it up. Chapter 12, it's literally that. So, yeah, very bizarre.
So today we're going to be recapping Monday's pod, which I think might have been one of our more scary pods outside of, what was probably our scariest one? The debt one, maybe? Like how to get out of debt.
Even now, this is definitely the scary one.
This is a pretty scary one. I definitely wanted a few times where I started going down
the dark.
Everyone gather around me on my soapbox as I talk to you about how effed up bankruptcy is.
Yes. Yeah. It was, you guys couldn't see my legs underneath the desk, but they were just like shaking. I was like a nervous dog. A little chihuahua.
So today we're going to be recapping what is bankruptcy, how does bankruptcy work, the impacts and implications of bankruptcy, when to consider actually filing bankruptcy, and then of course some common misconceptions of bankruptcy, and then when should we seek out financial help? When should we actually look for a professional?
Yes.
When thinking about
when's the right time to file?
Yeah. When should I file this thing?
Yeah. It's surprisingly enough, bankruptcy it's not something, like you said last pod, it's not the first thing you go to.
No.
It's definitely not like, yo, Chris, I just got this TV. It was like $1,000 on my credit card. I think I'm just going to declare. I'm going to declare it, get it wiped.
I'm going to keep that TV.
I'm going to keep the TV. It's free TV now. And that's how that works, right? Yep. That's definitely not how that works.
I think that's how a lot of people unfortunately think that it works. Is I think what they think people do, like bad people. Obviously, this is not what our audience are doing, but what they think bad people are doing is they're like, I'm just going to go and buy this Gucci purse, this new TV, all these new kicks, and then I'm just going to declare bankruptcy, and now it's all for mine for free.
Yeah.
And everyone wins.
And it's a single sheet of paper. Dominic James, bankrupt.
Yeah, declare bankruptcy. Here it is. I will take my credit score hit and I'm done.
Yes.
I'll do it again in 10 years. But as we talked about, it is not that simple.
Yep.
It is quite complex. It is a whole freaking process that if you screw up, you're done.
You're done, kid.
You're done.
Yeah. It's messy. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to be super simple. Chris was just laying it down. He's like, there's bankruptcy court, bankruptcy judges, attorneys, people involved, paperwork. I'm like, this is $1,500.
Mm-hmm. For one type, the other type is like $4,500.
Yeah. So there is a scenario in which you can be so bankrupt that you can't even afford bankruptcy, which is crazy.
Yep.
Because it costs money to go bankrupt. Mm-hmm. Nothing's for free in this life, boys.
Nothing is.
Nothing is.
Now, I've heard horror stories of people who $50,000 in debt and they were so poor they couldn't afford to file bankruptcy. And then we even talked about the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy, where most people, or some people, should maybe be going for Chapter 7, but they can't afford it. Yeah. So they go for Chapter 13 because at least that way the attorneys will give them the ability to
pay it off long term.
In long term.
But really, it's 3 times more.
Yep.
Yeah, 3-4 times more. Yeah, it's just it's a yucky system. Yeah, it's what we have.
So first off, defining bankruptcy is really the legal process that provides relief for people who are overwhelmed with or for people who are overwhelmed by debt.
Yeah.
It gives them basically a clean slate where they can restart. And we talked about that there's 6 different types of bankruptcy.
Yes, sir.
And of course, we're not going to go to every single type because
most of them don't matter.
Most of them don't matter to our individual, to the individuals. A lot of them are for municipalities or for businesses or for a fisherman.
A single fisherman with an actual income.
Yeah.
That is just the most bizarre thing I've ever read.
I'm sure it was back in the day. And just it was for fishermen and farmers.
So,
and then there's also ones for municipal bond. There's ones for government debt. There's weird ones too. But we're only going to focus on Chapter 7 and Chapter 13.
Yeah.
Chapter 7 was the liquidation one.
Okay.
Where you get rid of all your stuff. You sell everything that you have under certain threshold limits, of course. Not gonna, you need to sell those underwear too. Like, it's not that.
You're a nudist now.
Yeah.
You have nothing.
Yeah, give me both your socks. They're both going.
Oh man, that would suck. That would suck.
Under limits, like you have to sell pretty much all your assets. That's the one that everyone thinks about when they think of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
But then the other one that people think about is Chapter 13, which is more of a restructure, which I feel like most people don't really understand, which is basically you get to keep your big assets, you get to keep the house, you get to keep the car, because you get to keep the roof over your head, you get to keep the car to continue to make money. As you pay off, you restructure your debts to now be paid over the next 3 to 5 years, in which you must make every single payment. And here's the big thing for Chapter 13. If you screw up and you miss a payment, most likely what will happen is we're going to revert it back and now you end up with nothing. You declared bankruptcy and you're still in debt.
Yeah. Up until that point, it sounded like a good deal. It sounded like a really good deal. I'm like, oh yeah, it's not bad. You can keep the house, keep the car. I gotta go to work. Gotta live somewhere. Gotta keep I gotta keep my Ninja air fryer.
Yeah,
that's good. My Fry Daddy, But no, it's expensive actually. It's way more expensive.
Yeah, it's way more expensive.
And it's way more time consuming too.
3 to 5 years for just that Chapter 13 during the restructure while you're paying it down. First, it could take like up to a year or so just to get through that process to get to the point where you're paying it down. Then after you finally pay off the debt, then it's 7 years on your what's it called? Credit score.
Yeah, your credit history. Interesting. And then also, what was I going to say? Also, I forgot what I was going to say.
It's okay.
That's okay. All right. Well, I'll think of it. I'll think of it later. Yeah.
And but remember that bankruptcy is a legal framework, and like we talked about earlier, it's not this simple, clean process where you just walk up to a place and you're just like, "Hey, bankruptcy, can I get the paper that I fill out that just says like I'm declaring bankruptcy?" And there it is. No, you have to get an attorney. And that's where it really comes in that you can be so poor you can't even afford to file for bankruptcy.
That's a sad reality. That breaks my heart.
And we didn't talk about it a lot last time, but unfortunately, a lot of people get pushed into Chapter 13 bankruptcy, the restructuring one, where oftentimes this should probably go towards Chapter 7. Yeah. Maybe not oftentimes, but for some people it makes sense.
Yeah.
And the reason that it makes sense for a lot of people for Chapter 7, or the reason they get pushed to Chapter 13 is because Chapter 7, you have to have the money up front, $1,500 up front. But if you're so poor that you can't afford it, but you can do Chapter 13 where it's going to be this long drawn out process where the lawyers will often do zero money down, the only option that people have is Chapter 13, which is a restructure. And if that's their only option, the chance of them missing a payment is substantially higher.
Yeah. Yeah, it would suck if it's like, honey, we have to save. It's like, oh, I know, we got to pay off our debts. It's like, no, we have to save for bankruptcy. That sucks.
Yep.
That is just like a moral gut punch. Damn, we gotta make sure, chat, homies, we cannot get you here. Homies.
Let me tell you.
Homies and homettes, we can't let you get here. We get, every other podcast we do is about not getting to this situation. And this is like, I was gonna say, this is like our cyanide pill. This is exactly what you don't want to do. You don't want to go into bankruptcy. It's the last resort. But if you have to do it, you gotta do it.
You gotta do it. And I think that there is so much stigma out there of people who do bankruptcy is they're just like people who are like having fun. Like they'll go out, they'll party for a week, they'll go to Bora Bora, they'll go on all these trips, and then they'll get back. I declare bankruptcy, done, I'm gonna do it again.
Yep.
I'm like, and that's normally not the case. What unfortunately is normally the case is someone gets hit by a car, someone has a medical emergency, someone passes away, someone has to leave work to care for a sick relative.
Yes.
And then of course during that time, bills add up very, very quickly, as we all know, and then you end up finding yourself inside of a situation, really to no fault of your own, that you're in bankruptcy. Now you have to go through this horrible process. Well, I even told you about the court-appointed course that you have to do to not get yourself into bankruptcy again, which
ridiculous.
Imagine I had to stop working because my son was sick with whatever and he passed away, and now I have to go to this stupid course where they're telling you hey,
pro tip, don't have a kid.
Yeah, pro tip,
should have fed him more vegetables. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just it's asinine and it's hurtful.
It is. I think one thing is financial counseling and another is just a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's
a waste of time just to say they did it.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like it was just like in the back rooms of Congress where it's like, yeah, we'll make them. Yeah, they got to do a course and like that's fine, whatever.
Yeah, and then like whoever makes the course, we don't really care. We're not really going to like
Yeah.
look at it, but we just need to make sure they do it.
Yeah, and I think that's the saddest part about all this is like, it's just regular everyday people filing for bankruptcy, and it's not a small number. You might guess it's about 400,000 people.
450,000.
450,000 people, not over the lifetime of our country, but over the lifetime of this year. You know, so that's a lot of people.
Yep, up about 17% from last year.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's growing more and more. After COVID, it grew even faster.
Absolutely.
You know, if you want to hear me get on my soapbox, as it were, last time, you can go back and listen to the Monday pod where I talked all about the regulations and how things kind of worked out to be the way they are now today. But bankruptcy was supposed to be the clean slate. Like, you're not supposed to do it, but like if you end up in that situation, you know, there is thought of personal responsibility versus social responsibility. And that's where these two are supposed to meet, where you mess up and do your own responsibility or whatnot. And everyone's going to chip in to like help you to reset.
Yeah.
And after 2005, we redid everything where we introduced the two different types of bankruptcy, and you know there's a lot of debt that you can't even get out of.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't even go into people who are come out of school that are $80,000, $100,000, $400,000 in debt. They think like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to declare bankruptcy. Like, imagine you're already in debt and then you like got hit by a car. Now you're double in debt. And you're like, all right, I'm just going to declare bankruptcy. Like, this is the only thing I can do. And they're like, well, guess what? That's not going to fix that. You can still declare bankruptcy for funsies, though. Like,
You know, hang out with the lawyers, the judge.
everyone likes that.
I love
It's
paperwork.
So much fun.
I'm a big fan of, legal size paperwork. Yeah, no, it's definitely not a fun process.
No.
It sucks. And it stays around for a long time. 7 years, 10 years for Chapter 7, and 7 years for Chapter 13. Gotcha.
Plus the 3 to 5 years of you actually paying down the debt too.
So do you have to pay down the debt first and then it?
I believe so.
Really? So it could, if you take 5 years, it could be 15 years.
12 years.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, because it's 7. That's
seven,
right. I thought it was 10 in my head. Yeah, it's
That's the way I believe it works. I mean, it could be different, but that's what I'm pretty sure.
because you're more of the tax. You're not tax. You're more of like the financial planning and retirement.
Hopefully, no one who is working with me
Yeah.
is in this situation.
I really hope not.
No.
Yeah, I really hope not. But yeah, what else did we talk about on Monday?
Well, then we talked about the process. Like there's a lot of required documents. It's not as easy as many people think it is. And then I talked a little bit about one of the nice things about it is the automatic stay of when you do there's a lot of drawbacks to filing for bankruptcy.
Yes.
One of the nice things though is when you do it, it halts creditors' actions during bankruptcy. So like all creditors kind of like leave you alone for a little bit.
Okay.
It gives you that breathing room to actually like take a beat.
Yeah.
And figure it out.
So that's kind of nice. It's a bonus.
It's a bonus, yeah.
It's included with the package.
It's so much fun.
It's a cool subscription. But yeah, if you've ever been hounded by literally any telemarketer ever from a third world country, you know that it's not fun getting called every single day.
Yeah, now think about them calling, and unfortunately creditors they'll call more than just your home. They'll call your boss. They'll call your place of employment. They'll call anything, especially as credit. We're going outside of the realm we're supposed to, but this is where credit gets really, really bad, where there's things called zombie debt, where debt will get sold to somebody else. They get sold to somebody else, sold to somebody else, but they don't know up the chain if it got paid down. So debt can be paid off, and you'll still be getting calls from creditors who are saying you need to pay on this, even though you paid it forever ago.
Dang.
And like the farther that debt gets sold, the more and more likely you're going to get some asshole who's going to like call you up at 3 a.m., who's going to call your boss, who's going to call all this stuff.
Wow.
There are like laws going through right now that are supposed to like halt that or like make it better.
Yeah, they should. Yeah.
Which I don't understand how it was never like that, but
Doesn't make sense. Yeah. That's crazy though. I never heard of the zombie debt. Interesting. I thought it was like a ritual or something.
you like you kill the debt.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's a crappy place to be. You can't get out of it.
No.
I don't want to pay more people.
And unfortunately, that's kind of the system that we set ourselves up for is, it was supposed to be to get people to help people, give them that second chance. But now we're in a system that it doesn't help people. In fact, 2/3 of people that file for Chapter 13 bankruptcy miss a payment and end up not being able to make it through the bankruptcy entirely. And they have to basically start back at ground zero.
Damn.
So For
Damn.
everyone, yes. For Chapter 7, like that one seems to be the one that works pretty well. But again, there's the huge trade-off of Chapter 7 if you're liquidating pretty much everything.
That's rough.
With Chapter 13, you're not liquidating things. You get to keep the house, you get to keep the car. But if you screw up, well, good, you get to keep all your stuff, but now you're back at square one.
Yeah, you still have to do everything all over again.
And you can't declare bankruptcy.
You can't declare bankruptcy. Dang.
Like for at least 10 years.
So you're kind of in a rough spot there. You're kind of in a little bit of a tight spot there.
Yeah.
So it could go either way.
You really can.
I mean, they're both not great.
Nope.
They're both not great. Like I'm trying to see the positives, but they're.
I think the positives is if you really are in that situation where you have tried literally everything, like you've tried everything and you've tried even more than everything, and you still can't do it. Like this is a way out, but it comes with a huge drawback. So whenever someone thinks like, oh, it's okay, I'll just declare bankruptcy and I'll be done with it, it's not as easy as that because there are significant impacts and implications. Number one being your credit score and credit report gets devastated.
Hammered.
Like, it gets wrecked.
It's like, an average spring break, it just gets hammered.
Yeah, so that's going to be gone. And now imagine if you did declare Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you've had to sell your house, you had to sell your car, had to sell most of your assets. Now you're going to have to really depend on your credit report to be able to get money or to get someone to loan you money in order to get there. But you just got a fucking bankruptcy. So there's no way that anyone's going to loan you anything.
No.
Because they know you don't have any assets.
No. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose.
You have nothing to lose. That's a dangerous man. That's a dangerous man right there.
Yeah, so and creditworthiness can even affect like people's ability to get jobs. It can even affect people's abilities to get like apartments.
Yeah, I think that's what's craziest about it. It's like, well, hey, I just got filed for bankruptcy. It's like, obviously I'm not going to get a house because the interest rate, I'm just going to get a terrible rate and whatnot. And I really can't afford a house anyways.
Can't afford a house anyways.
And assuming that I do have a job, it's like, God, I can't even get an apartment. I can, but I mean, here in Arizona, the apartment is just it's so competitive. It fills up fast, and it's like, obviously, if my credit's wrecked, I'm not going to be their first choice. It just shows. I mean, they're in the business of making money, and I can't, and I'm irresponsible with money. It's like, why would you do business with me?
Yep.
Doesn't make sense.
And you could be irresponsible with money even outside. Like it could have been you just buying dumb things, which often it isn't. But it could just be a terrible situation that you happen to find yourself in. And anyone could have been in that same exact situation, just it happened to happen to you.
Yeah.
And that's where it's so devastating. But I mean, the nice thing if you do Chapter 13 is it does give you asset protection, right? So
True.
It does give you some exemptions, and there are strategies even to safeguard more things.
Strategies.
There's safeguards like that. There are ways to do it. I mean, I don't know how to safeguard the assets in Chapter 13 bankruptcy.
Yeah.
But ideally, if you're working with me, we're never in that situation.
Your job is to keep me out of that.
Yeah, my job is to keep you out of it.
If I'm Chris's client and I'm filing for bankruptcy and I've had him for 20 years, I'm gonna be pissed. But I know that would never happen. No, Chris is he's smart with the money. He always takes care of us.
We're usually very ahead of these types of things.
Very ahead. Like this isn't usually something that's just like, yo, Chris, I have like 300,000. I'm 25. I got all this money. We're sitting good. And then like Friday, it's like, hey, let's talk bankruptcy.
Let's talk bankruptcy.
Oh man.
But it can't happen if someone doesn't think about that. That's where the risk mitigation of insurance really comes in, like clutch.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest guy when it comes to insurance, but it can protect you from this stuff because that's normally what happens.
Interesting.
It's usually medical debt. It's usually loss of a spouse or a partner. Having to take time off of work to care for somebody, where there are insurances that could have covered that time away. From working.
And I'm curious. I've heard about this on the news on CNBC or whatever. Is it? I think I might just be dreaming this, but isn't there such a thing for businesses exclusively, bankruptcy insurance, to where you can get insurance? I don't know. I feel like I've heard this before. Have you ever heard of something like that?
Bankruptcy insurance, where you can insure against having to file bankruptcy?
Yeah, something like that. Where if you have to file, you can get money from the insurance to keep you out of bankruptcy. It's kind of
bizarre. I can see that. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Maybe, but I don't know what they would get in return.
The payments.
Payments, I guess.
Yeah, they're your normal premium.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like I've heard that before.
I could definitely see it being a thing.
Yeah. I mean, we had a podcast on insurance, and I can insure Chris's hair. So I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, I'm sure it is a thing, but then my thought would be, if you have to declare bankruptcy, do you have the money to pay the premiums? And of course, the insurance company's going to try to get out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
They can.
They're such weasels.
Oh, yeah.
God, I hate them. Yeah. What else did we talk about?
We also talked about when is actually time to consider bankruptcy, and I really talked about the ability to like recognize the signs of like true financial distress.
Yeah.
And this is like, I think of bankruptcy like I do a divorce. Like you shouldn't get married to somebody and then like, I love you. That first night, like, oh, hey, I told you to leave the seat down and you didn't. Like, we're done.
Yeah, it's over.
Divorced.
Divorced. Yeah. No, that's not how that works.
That's not how that works. That's not
how
the way
that
it
should
should work
work.
with bankruptcy either. It shouldn't be like, oh, hey, I just bought this soda I shouldn't have bought. I'm just going to declare bankruptcy and be done with it.
Yeah.
Like this should be, just like with marriage, like we should have gone through every single step to stop this process.
Yes,
like,
sir.
To like not go down this road.
Yep.
And same with bankruptcy. We should have tried debt consolidation. We should have tried negotiation. We should have tried debt relief. We should have tried literally every single thing and then some.
Yeah.
And still not been able to do it. Then we talk about bankruptcy as the next logical.
Do you think a lot of people who aren't financially educated rush into bankruptcy?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Really? That's scary.
I do, and that's the reason that I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
Is because I think a lot of people, if you're not financially literate, you have no idea what you're talking about, and you're at home because you're not working or something, and you're watching a TV show, and then first thing that comes on is like, are you $800,000 in debt, and are these things like tearing you apart?
Yeah.
If you call this law firm, we'll give you $0 down, and you can file for bankruptcy right now and get the debt wiped clean.
Yeah.
And if you go to the attorney and like they all say like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense for you, you do it, but they don't explain to you. You have to make every single payment. If you mess up at one time, you're done. This is what happens after it. All of these other things. This is what Chapter 7 versus Chapter 13 actually means.
Yeah.
And like we're going to do 2 podcasts that are going to be like about an hour each on this subject. And like, are you going to get that much time with an attorney? Are you going to get 2 hours with an attorney to explain all the nuances with you? I doubt it.
I doubt it. That's an expensive.
Yeah, you will not.
You don't have the money for that.
You don't have the money for that.
No.
So people rush into it thinking that it is this get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Which I'm here to tell you, like, it's not. It's
No.
not at all.
No, it really, as much as we want it to be, it's just not.
As much as it used to be and it should be, it's not anymore.
It's not. No. Yeah, it sucks that, and now this might be the gamifying Dom saying this, but it's like, it sucks that it stays on your record for so long, and it has such a negative implications, because I'd be like, oh, I could see like the YouTube videos already being made. It's like how to gamify bankruptcy.
I'm sure there's ones out there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like, where are you taking your shit from? Like fucking TikTok? Like, yeah,
Exactly. Today's hack on the hack of 101. Yeah.
I've seen some ones people are like, oh yeah, just don't even pay your debt. Like you can just like run out the credit cards, and it's honestly like the credit card's fault for giving you the money.
Yeah, I've seen some wild stuff. I saw this one. It's like, if we all, it's like the IRS has 43,000 employees, and like if we all just don't pay, then how are they going to get us? It's just like
Facts.
I mean, it's not illogical.
It's not illogical.
It's just not.
To be fair, when it comes to like taxes, like there are that many IRS agents. I would say 95% of people, if you underpaid on taxes or like didn't report income, you'll never have an issue.
Yeah.
But
Don't.
like, is
Don't.
it worth it? Is it worth that 5% risk of getting audited and like going to jail?
Yeah. It's like taxes suck, but do everything you can to mitigate taxes. You can buy real estate. You can get, there's a bunch of friggin' tax benefits there. You can write off a lot of taxes there, cost segregation and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's different ways to get around taxes. I mean, you're still going to have to pay it.
Yeah.
But
There's ways to get around, but you got to pay taxes.
my economics teacher in high school, he used to say there's only 2 things in life that are certain. It's death and taxes.
Death and taxes,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Age-old saying.
Age-old saying.
Age-old saying.
Remember that if we're only going to declare bankruptcy if there is a lack of alternatives, because we have tried every single avenue we possibly could, and we still have fallen dramatically short of where we need to be.
Yeah.
It's not the get out of jail free card that commercials and like people who you are paying them to declare bankruptcy for you make it sound out, because it's not.
Yeah, like I worry that as soon as the paperwork gets filed, it's not like, it's not necessarily a relief off your shoulders. It's just like, now we have something new. It's the feeling of paying off all your debt and filing for bankruptcy are not the same feeling.
I would doubt it.
They're not the same feeling. I would be shocked if I met anybody who said we were, brother and sister. One had $100,000 in debt. The other had $100,000 in debt. One went bankrupt. The other worked hard, paid it off. I would assume that the one who worked hard to pay off the debt is in a better financial situation than the one that's...
Because they learned fiscal responsibility. They learned how to live under their means for a long enough time. So they got the double benefit of living under your means and then how to save.
Yep.
So now that's like a twofer, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're living on less than you're making and you're able to save more.
And you understand the value of money, And it's the hard path versus the quick and easy path. And really, the quick and easy path is not that quick. It's not that easy.
Not that quick, not that easy.
It's kind of painful.
Yeah, which is difficult though when we talk about this subject because obviously we want to like err towards personal responsibility, but like I know from statistics that a lot of the people that end up in bankruptcy is not due to choices that they consciously made. It's not like they went out. They're like, I really need this Gucci bag, and I really need all these shoes, and I really need to buy this, I really need to buy that. Does that happen? Yeah, it does. I'm sure it happens.
It has happened.
It happens on the margin.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
But majority of people, it's because of circumstances that could literally happen to any of us, but due to the luck of the draw, it didn't happen to you, it happened to somebody else. And now you're just judging them because of like, oh, that didn't happen to me. But it very easily could have happened to you.
Yeah.
You could have just as easily got hit by that car.
Dude. That's why I don't drive.
Yeah.
That's why I stay home. I just want to stay home and we'll just record the pod from video podcast.
Yeah,
video
podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that is so sad is that it's usually not the people buying the Gucci purses, like you said. It's the ones who get hit by buses, hit by cars, public transportation, very dangerous. And they just weren't prepared. They didn't have the right insurances in play or they didn't have enough in savings. I mean, medical bills are so expensive where it's like you almost can't have enough in savings.
Yeah, and the average American can't cover a $400 bill.
No. It's scary.
Yeah.
We're living in a medieval world. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then legal advice and financial advice is really a dime a dozen. And there's for every hopefully if you listen to the Fly Guys, you know that we're trying to give you the best information that we possibly can.
Yeah.
Coming to you from like an actual professional, not like some guy who just turned on a freaking camera.
Yeah.
I actually have a business and I do this for real. Yeah. But there are so many other people that are out there like just saying random stuff and you're getting all this contradictory messages and you're trying to figure out like, how am I supposed to be a professional at like financial advice, at legal advice, at like tax attorney, at if I go to the doctor, is the doctor telling me the right thing? Like it's so hard. You have to be able to trust in some people at some points.
Yeah, and I think going on that point as well is like, since there's no one right path, there's no like, hey, sky is blue. We know this. It's like there's so many different ways to go about finance that there's no one way. So like you talk about, I mean, analysis paralysis is just so much in the mind of someone who's trying to make a decision, especially when there's no right decision. But you got to make a decision to see if it is the right decision. Is my mic on? Yeah, there we go. Okay, I saw you look down. But yeah, no. That's why, and I hate to give this advice. I don't want to give this advice.
Well, let's hear it.
But I think that if you don't want to spend any money and you're just trying to gain the basic knowledge, the introductory knowledge, I think ChatGPT is a really great place to start.
Okay. And
just asking the quote unquote dumb questions to get it out of the way so you can learn and create a wealth of knowledge. Because it's scary to like pick up. I know a lot of people these days they can't pick up the phone and like
it's terrifying.
Yeah, or even send an email. It's like it's the craziest thing, and I get it. I've been there too, but it's you gotta start somewhere. Yeah. And I think the podcast is obviously a great place to start, but continuing your pursuit of knowledge, and continuing your pursuit of financial freedom, the Fi Guys. Yeah. I feel like we haven't said that in a while. Financial independence. Yeah.
How is it 5?
Yeah. Hence why we haven't said it in a long time. I forgot it. I think continue to learn, continue to seek guidance, and find your path. Because there's no one path. You got to find your path.
Yep. And that's why it's so difficult when it comes down to like, should I declare bankruptcy? And the answer is, I don't know. Like how much time do you have that we can sit together to figure out if there's other paths before we get there?
Yeah.
And then there are some like common misconceptions towards bankruptcy that I want to make sure that we're like breaking.
Okay.
And I think the biggest thing is like the stigma around bankruptcy. Like if you have to declare bankruptcy, it does not mean that you're a failure.
No.
It does not mean that you're bad with money. It means that something happened to you, but you're trying to wipe the slate clean, as it were, in order to get back on this path. But once you start with bankruptcy and once you finish it, it is not the end of your financial journey. It is really just a new beginning.
Yeah. It's
You
just
start with.
I love that. I really love that. I think the framing of it can be improved. You know, you can look at anything positive, you can look at anything negative. But I love what you're saying, that, you know, it can be very depressing. It can be very societally depressing as well. I mean, socially, it's just like...
Yeah, you're an outcast.
You're an outcast. Yeah, you feel like an outcast. Even if it's not true, you feel like it. You feel like a failure. And it's just a tool. Bankruptcy is just a tool.
Yep.
It's not a... You're not a felon. You know, you're not... It's not something that will stick with you forever. You know, it gets off your record. You continue on eating, drinking, you know, going on dates or whatever.
At the end of the day, it's just money.
It's just money. Yeah. It's just money.
It's just money.
It's just money.
You know, I always try to think back to like, I'm Hawaiian, right? And in Hawaiian culture, it's very much like Native American culture. It's like pretty much any like culture.
Culture, yeah.
Like sustainable culture. It's like we don't need more than what we have because everything we have is provided to us by the land.
By the island, yeah.
By the island. And it's kind of that exact same thing of why do we need to keep on searching for more, gaining more? Like you have everything that you need right now and it's just money. Yeah. If you lose all of it, it's just money. You still have your family, you still have your friends, you still have your community. Maybe you don't have your house, but you don't have all the things. But no one knows what you have and no one knows what you don't have unless you tell them.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's really true. You know, you could lose a brother, you could lose a sister, or you could lose money. You know, money, we can always make more money. We can make more family, depending on your age. You can't get another brother, you know. So I think it's important to really dial back. Come on, get out of your ego, get out of your own self, get out of your own way, and just like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. We just gotta make smart financial decisions, and that's why we have people who dedicate their lives to finance, like Chris, and they help us, and we get through it. Life goes on.
Life goes on.
You know, the world before you were gonna get a bankruptcy keeps spinning.
Yep.
When you get the bankruptcy, when you get it after, in 5 years, 10 years down the line, still gonna be spinning. Nothing changes.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like if you have one bankruptcy, it's fine. You have two bankruptcies. If they're different situations, it's fine. Like if we're going to like 5, 6, 10 bankruptcies, like now of course we're in a different situation.
Going for a world record.
You're going for a world record. But like most people aren't getting themselves into bankruptcy with the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
I hope not. I hope you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, because I think we've showed that this is not an easy process. This is not a fun process that no one's going through for funsies.
No, it's not like you walk into like, you know, the legal office and you're like, you press a button, you're like, I am bankrupt. I have no debt. Time to go spend some more money. It's like, no, it's a process.
It's a process, and I think it's all messed up, right? Then like after you finally go through that process, like the moment that your bankruptcy is done, credit card company, they start sending you more credit card offers like, oh, you've been pre-approved for these cards.
Yeah. Like
it just shows you the system that we're in.
Yeah. 30% APR.
Yeah, the system is meant to keep you here.
Yeah.
And that's why bankruptcy, why people might think it's here as like a clean slate, it often isn't.
No.
Because the system is made to not let you out of it.
Yeah. Credit cards, the credit card companies, they're not your friend.
No, they're not.
They're not. They're a business. They're an entity. They're a soulless corporation, and their sole job is to make money
for their shareholders.
For the business owners. Okay, they owe no loyalty to you. They're in the business of making money, like every business, providing a service, helping people, goods and services in exchange for money.
Exact same with us, right? When we use credit cards strategically, we are not the credit card company's friend.
No, like I'm not doing it so I can call a credit card company and be like, hey, I got 50,000 points. Are you happy? Yeah. You pleased with me? Yeah, I thought so. It's like, no, it's like, it's a goods and service.
Yeah, they hate us just as much as we hate them. Like, it really is that.
Yeah.
We're both competing against each other.
Yeah. We're trying to make sure that they don't screw us, and we're trying to screw them as hard. But basically. Yeah.
And they're trying to do the same thing to us.
They're trying to do the same thing to us. Yeah.
And that's cool.
That's the game.
It's just the game.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. That's really funny.
So, the final segment is just you seeking professional guidance. If you're on the thought of pursuing bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really tough really fast, and that legal and financial advice really is a dime a dozen for finding the right people for you who has your best interest at heart. That's why I always recommend working with a fiduciary as your best interest at heart. And then also maybe even going and finding alternate opinions and like asking multiple people.
Yeah, fiduciary.
Multiple
Definitely.
fiduciaries, like their opinions on things, and make sure that they're all aligned or at least somewhat aligned, because you might be different on the margins as to things like financially, like, oh, have you tried doing this? Can we do this a little bit differently? But if one person's like, no, do not declare bankruptcy, or like 3 people are like, don't declare bankruptcy, but like this one guy who like you have to pay $5,000, like, yeah, definitely declare bankruptcy and pay me that $5,000.
Yeah.
Like, who do you want to go with?
Exactly. Yeah, I think the most important thing, at least in my experience, is when you're dealing with stuff that is life-altering, life-changing, take notes beforehand. Don't come in blind. Take notes during the meeting. Don't make any decisions during the meeting. I personally like to sleep on things. I like to take a walk, meditate on it, really think, especially for life-changing stuff. Go home with the notes I have, assess what he said, and fact check what they said, research what they said, make sure that this is the best possible option. And especially with ChatGPT, I can just, I'm literally literally a search away. Like, hey, these are my notes. What do you think about this? Like, is it all kosher? Is it all good? What do you recommend? And then like just start, like you said, cross-referencing with different ideas. And I think that's one of the things I love about ChatGPT. It's unbiased.
I guess I've never really thought about doing that. That's a good idea though, is because that's one of the hardest things with financial advice and legal advice is you're really trusting in a person that they're they're doing what's in the best interest of you. And I think a lot of that is you can feel it. Like I think you can feel when someone's like untruthful, or there's something like that. But having another resource like ChatGPT, like you just check this. Does this sound right to you?
It's interesting that you said that. I remember when I was younger, I was probably 17 maybe. I went to this guy. I don't know if he was a lawyer or whatnot, but he was someone who set up trusts, right? And this was this was probably 10, this honestly might have been 10 years ago. Maybe not that long, maybe like 8 years ago. And I almost went to work for him, actually. And I texted him, messaged him, and he never got back to me. And I always thought that was so weird because I was a go-getter and, he did the trust and it looked good and everything. And my dad was actually getting his trust re-upped and everything. Comes to find out, he's like, that guy, we'll call him Alan. His name's not Alan, but he's like, Alan? I'm like, yeah, I remember him, like the guy from way back. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, he's in prison now for embezzling. He embezzled like $3 million from his clients.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, wow. I didn't even, I'm a young kid at that point. I didn't get the vibe at all. Like, so sometimes it's hard to tell with someone who's been sleazy their whole life, Yeah,
they're really good at just being sleazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, all the paperwork is like all good. Like none of the accounts were touched or anything like that. So I don't know what he did, but I mean, you gotta pay attention to people.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's definitely terrifying.
I think it's one of the reasons why my clients like working with me is that when I'm a fiduciary, like even when I'm investing your money, like I never take possession of your money.
No.
Like there's always like there's Charles Schwab or there's Fidelity or there's another company that has as custodian of the money, and I just invest it from there, just to make sure that like none of that stuff ever happens. So I always tell clients like that above board because I've put in regulations on myself to make sure that this is never even a question.
Yeah.
Because I never want to go in front of the board. Like I don't want to deal with it. Like
No.
it's easier to have all this stuff way ahead of time.
Yeah.
That I've set up on myself.
Yeah, and from a client standpoint, no, of course not.
Not because I don't trust myself,
no.
but just like all that's gone. Like you don't have to think about it because I've taken care of it.
Yeah, like from a client standpoint, it's like I don't want to be like sleeping up at night and thinking like, is my financial advisor swimming in a pool of my own money? Like, is he just what's going on over there? It's like no, he doesn't actually touch it. He's not even. He just manages it. So yeah, I like that.
You pay him.
Yeah, you pay him. Yeah, simple.
Cool. So action step for this week. Hopefully this is not anyone's case, but if you are considering bankruptcy, please consult a professional and explore all the options thoroughly before making any decision. And then like Dom said, fact check before you go. Have the meeting. Don't make any decisions. Go home. Fact check the fact checked. And like keep on going down the rabbit hole. Get alternate opinions. You can always reach out to Chris at Monzon Wealth. I'm not a bankruptcy specialist in any way, shape, or form, so I would never give the A-OK on do it bankruptcy or don't do it bankruptcy. But I would at least listen and say like it might not be worth it. I would never say it is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that I appreciate about you is how honest you are, you know, how forthcoming. And it's like, you could have easily just come on here and be like, not said anything about like bankruptcy isn't your forte, you know, but you came out and just were honest. And I think the viewer appreciates, I know I appreciate that. But I believe that is all we have for the bankruptcy section.
I hope so, because that was a lot.
That was a lot. That was definitely, it's a bit of a heavier podcast.
Yes.
Especially for someone who's actually in that position. Not me personally. I'm just as, you know what I'm saying. Tomorrow, bankrupt. No, speaking on that, do you have $1,500 I can borrow for bankruptcy?
For bankruptcy.
For bankruptcy.
So I can declare bankruptcy.
So I can declare it.
Chapter 7.
Yes. This is my favorite part of the week. I love this part of the week. It is Five Friday feedback, viewer mailbag time. We have a husband here that may or may not, I'm just going to rat on him. We have a husband here that spent $110,000 behind the wife's back, and now it's come to light.
Oh.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's getting, we got a juicy one here today. We got a little bit of a juicy one.
Let's get it.
So let's get it. So let's see. What do we got on today? I just found out a letter from my husband, and he secretly got us into $110,000 worth of debt. I'm not sure how that's possible legally. It is all high interest, personal loans, credit card debt, all that fun stuff. How do we go about paying it all off? Well, welcome to the Fi Guys, and here we go. Howdy, Fi Guys. I hope you... Okay, I'm going to restart.
Okay.
I'm going to restart. Yes, this is, for those that don't know, we get letters from our viewers and from other people, and yeah, just...
We read them live.
We read them live, yeah. Dear Fi Guys, I really hope you can help me. I'm reaching out to share a recent discovery that has left me feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about our financial future. Recently, I've learned that my husband has accumulated a significant amount of debt, $110,000 in personal loans and credit card debt over the past 3 years.
Dun, dun, dun.
Imagine doing that in a meeting.
Oh, man.
Whack! Dude, that'd be crazy. Oh, that's a lot of money. This revelation has forced us to reevaluate our plans, particularly regarding our home and our approach to managing our finance. I bet it would.
Yeah,
I bet it would. Initially, we had been considering selling our home and purchasing a new one. However, given the new information, we've decided to put a halt to those plans for the time being. Instead, our primary focus is now devising a strategy to tackle this debt and effectively wipe it out. Okay? One option we are considering is allocating all costs of living, including mortgage, utility, daycare, and other primary essentials, to cover my husband's debt entirely. Damn. I mean, she's actually being pretty nice with it.
Yeah, she is super nice.
She could kill him in the chat. She could kill him.
You know, one thing I'm thinking though is like, none of this came to light likely until they were like applying for a home.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Because you're saying like, oh God, okay, keep going.
This is good. It's juicy. It's juicy. Woo. Okay. His paycheck, which is approximately $5,000 a month, would then be delegated to entirely paying down the debt. Okay. So they would use his paycheck specifically for the debt. Okay. Additionally, we have around $35,000 in stocks that I am contemplating liquidating to further contribute towards reducing the debt burden. And liquidating is basically just selling off all the debt, or selling off all the stocks, and just holding it in cash or using it in cash. Let's see. Furthermore, my husband has some valuable items, such as watches. Those get expensive. That could be sold for an approximate $20,000, providing us with an additional source of funds. In total, we estimate that we could pay off around $55,000 of debt relatively quickly using these resources. You know what sucks about that is, I don't know how much you value the watches or the things, but it sucks when you have to trade things that you love to pay off a number. It sucks. It would, that's rough. I'm going to read the rest of this and then I want to get into this in detail. Another option we are considering, it will be a bit more drastic one, that is, and it would be moving in with my parents temporarily. This would allow us to redirect both of our paychecks towards paying off my husband's debt and potentially enabling us to clear it within a year. While this option would be undoubtedly involve a significant amount of sacrifices, it could offer us a quicker path to financial peace of mind. True. I also want to mention that I have a student loan debt of around $120,000. You're worse than him. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't say that. With a manageable interest rate of 3.75%. While I've been diligent about making timely payments, congratulations, I've been holding off on the payments completely to focus on building our financial reserves and contributing towards retirement. 3.75, that's pretty
But you guys are making any payments? Holding off on payments completely to focus on building.
3.75 is not bad, though.
I understand that, but you need to still be making minimum payments.
At least minimum.
Oh, God. Okay, keep going.
Okay. At this junction, big junction,
Yep.
T-junction, we're feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about the best course of action. Any advice, insights you can offer would be extremely invaluable as we navigate this challenging situation. We're open to exploring all options and are committed to finding a solution that sets us on a path towards financial stability and security. Thank you for taking the time to consider our situation. We look forward to hearing you and are grateful for any guidance you can provide. From Money in a Bind, seeking a solution to unwind, coming to you with marital financial strife. Together, we aim for a better life. I like that.
Me too.
That's nice. So, let me take a turn on this one. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me dial in. How do you spend $110,000 and not have anybody notice?
Yeah. So
I want rhetorical. Just let me get into this. We did a construction project in the backyard. Beautiful. We put up a lattice fence, beautiful vines, lights, everything. It was about $200, maybe $230 at max. I could build a hell of a lot of lattices with $110,000. Now, if you got a new car, that would make sense. At $110,000, that's a very nice car. But how do you not notice it? Where's the money going?
you think you're like strippers and blow? Like,
Dude, I don't know. Or gambling?
Gambling problems? Or he did say he has a lot of watches. Maybe he has other jewelry that she's unaware of. Maybe he's like a big like jewelry guy. Like that.
Maybe
stuff
he's
gets
just bad at buying jewelry. Maybe he bought $110,000 worth of watches and it went down to $20,000. I don't know, but I don't understand how there's $20,000 in watches and $35K in stocks.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that number. I don't think that's maybe $50,000 in stocks and $5K in watches.
Yeah.
I like that. Maybe. I'm not a collector, obviously, so I'm biased. But that's tough.
Yeah, there's a lot of things here. So
Yeah, get into it.
main question is, how do we go off paying the debt? Should we sell the house, or not sell the house? Well, maybe even sell the house. Should we maybe sell the house, sell the watches, sell the stocks, and just pay off all the debt and move in with my parents? That's what it sounds like. The bigger question that I have, though, regardless, before we get into the finances, is how is your relationship with your husband?
Bro, is he alive still?
Yeah.
Did you kill him? Yeah, because $110,000.
Like this is very scary that you guys have much larger like marital issues than just the financial ones right now. He hid $110,000 from you. Now I get that. Over the 3 years, it was what, $35,000 year one, 35 to year two, 35 to year three. That's still a lot of money to be hiding from your partner. And I have to imagine that this did not come out at all until you guys were applying for your new home. And then it came out that like, oh, you guys have $110,000 in debt. And God, would I have loved to be in the room.
No, $200,000.
Huh?
Well, because of her student loans too.
No, she knew. I'm sure he knew about that.
Okay. So it would be a total of $200,000.
Yeah, but like I'm sure there was like, hey, there's $110,000 of unsecured, uncollateralized debt.
And she's like, oh, that's my student loans. He's like, no, that's not your student loans.
Yep.
It's like,
I'm sure that's what happened.
Yeah, and he's like, maybe we got hacked. Did we get hacked? Fingers got hacked. It's like, no, honey, no.
This is you.
No, yeah, we gambling, strippers, and below. That's pretty much what happened.
So first off, to our writer, like, you are very understanding of your husband. From what I can see, like, even the first part of your question is like, how do we go about paying all this off? And I see a few times in here you put his debt.
Yeah.
But then you put like, but we have to be responsible for it. So like, good on you for like sticking by your man, but like, you guys need to get on the same page because
Yeah.
you might be able to help him get out of this, but what if he just put you back in it? Like,
Yeah.
you guys need to go like some freaking therapy.
Yeah, something. Because I think that's a even scarier position. It's like you could sell the house, you could move in with your parents, you could liquidate your stocks, you could sell your watches, and you could wipe the debt out. Bing, bang, boom, and be back in the same situation 2-3 years later. I mean, that's a scary place to be. I actually think that they could actually come out of this ahead. And now, granted, it's going to take a lot of time and discipline and hard work and strategic action, right? I love the idea of moving back in with your parents. I think that could be something that, I mean, obviously you'd be getting the mortgage. I don't know how that would work. So you'd still have to pay the mortgage if you kept the house, but you could rent out the house. Hopefully you're in an area where rents are higher than mortgages. So you could be getting equity built into the house, and you could be getting a check from the renters for the excess after the mortgage. So I like that idea. Also, you'd probably be saving with utilities and daycare, hopefully, being that maybe your parents don't work and they can watch the kid. So daycare, I don't know, $1,000 a month. It's a lot. So we'll say, so right there, you're already up $1,000 at least. And it's nice to be with family sometimes. Sometimes for a certain amount of time. Sometimes. And, you know, maybe they can get the house paid off that way. Maybe they can, you know, pivot and it's like, okay, we got the debt all paid off. We're already saving boatloads of money. We're cooking with gas, you know? Well, let's buy another rental property since we're already geo-arbitraging. We're house hacking.
I think we're getting really far ahead.
We're getting very far ahead of it. But I'm just thinking like, it could be spun. It could be spun. It can always be spun.
This could be a happy thing. But right now we're not in a happy time.
No, but I definitely think like it's a bad situation, but we can make something good out of it.
Okay.
Which you know me, I'm always the positive. I try to always be positive and spin it to where it's like we can come out ahead. We can beat the system here. We can come back. But before we do Dom's plan, we got to do Chris's plan.
So
talk to me.
First thing I'm thinking is you have $110,000 in debt.
Yes.
Your husband has $20,000 in watches. Those are gone.
Immediately.
Sell them immediately and put that towards the debt. You have $35,000 in stocks. Now, I don't know what that means because those are in a 401k, are those in an IRA, are they in qualified funds, or are they in non-qualified funds? Because there's a difference what I'm going to recommend. If they're in qualified funds, like a 401k IRA, don't touch them because you're going to take a 10% penalty on them. Not really worth it. If they're in a brokerage account, then it might be worth selling to knock off that extra debt. Then the only reason I say that is because the interest rate you said is all high interest rates, personal loans and credit cards. So I'm assuming that the interest rates on those are somewhere between 20 and 30%, maybe to say 15 to 30% if he's not doing like premier credit cards. Your growth on your investment account, we're going to say on average grows 7 to 10%. So you're automatically losing there. But if it's in a qualified account, then we're not going to touch it because the penalty plus the loss isn't worth it. Moving in with your husbands or moving in with your parents for a little while, at this point, I think it's a good idea.
I like it.
I think it's a good idea. I don't know if you're working too. You said that your husband makes $5,000 a month. If you both put money towards it, can you guys get out of this
I would
faster?
assume she's working because there's daycare.
Yeah, because there's daycare included. So can you put this even faster? And then can we also rent out the house? And if you don't want to do a long-term rental, can we do Airbnb? Can we do something with the house for a little while to make sure that it's making money? Because I would probably not recommend selling the house right now with interest rates being the way they are. And then if you try to get back into another house, it's going to be just a shit show.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
we're going to be making way too many things, but you guys can knock out this debt in a year with just your husband's $5,000 a month going to it. You can do that in 11 months.
Yeah.
You know, plus the 20,000 for the watches and the 35 for the stocks, given that they're in qualified funds. Another thing I want to touch on is that, so I think we have a way to get rid of this.
Okay.
And if you don't want to, if you still want to live in your house, then you're just going to have to start buckling down. Where can we save money? Can my husband take on an extra side hustle? Can he work a second job? If this is his screw up, he better figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
That, or are you willing to do that for him too? Are you both willing to take on second jobs? Were you willing to cut? Are you willing to sell your purses, your jewelry, your stuff as well to help your husband out here?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing I want to think about though is you also have $120,000 in student loans with a manageable 3.75, which is cool. Like that's totally fine. The thing that I'm concerned about though is that you said you have completely stopped paying them off in order to focus on building your financial reserves and contributing towards retirement. So does that mean that you are not making minimum payments on them I need to know, are they federal loans or private loans? Because maybe you're going for like a debt forgiveness plan, but even for that, you still need to be making minimum payments.
Yeah.
If you fail to make the minimum payments, your 20-year clock resets.
Jinkies.
So there is no reason that you should forego saving for retirement in order just to pay off low interest debt, because at the end of the day, you'll have no debt and no investments. I'd rather have no debt and some investments.
Yeah.
So you can have a mix here, which you need to do. But it sounds like we're really prioritizing at this point. Like we have to pay off both my debt and my husband's debt before we can start doing anything now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You got to stay positive too.
Oh man. Yep.
That's all you can do.
You sure? Yeah. But you have to assess the full financial picture. I would say prioritize the highest interest debt first. So I would go with the debt avalanche approach. Create a budget and a debt repayment plan and stick to it. You have to utilize available resources. Like you said, your parents are willing to let you move in, and that's probably a good thing to go for right now. And then I would also rent out the property that you have currently in order to bring in some additional income to throw at this debt. A big thing you guys need to do is you need to start communicating openly and collaborate with your husband, because you not knowing that he put you in $110,000 of debt, I don't know what's going on with your guys' communication, but like
There can be improvements.
there can definitely be improvements, or he's just straight up hiding stuff from you, and that's financial infidelity.
Yeah.
And like huge red flag.
Yeah.
Huge red flag.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you guys are navigating that, but that's very, very worrisome. Consider the impact of like staying with this guy on your long-term goals.
Yeah.
If he's willing to put you in $110,000 of debt and not have it come out until the last minute, what else is he hiding?
He needs to work on himself for sure. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's solid advice.
Yeah, I would say just focus on your financial behaviors, seek professional advice. You can always reach out to me. I'm just going to tell you what I just told you right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no hacks to this. Like you have to buckle down and figure it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. But good luck from Arizona.
Good luck.
Yeah. I think
Send you love.
send in love. Send in love. That's all we can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it for Pie Friday feedback. Is it time for win of the week?
It is time for one.
I think I'm going to say my win of the week first, just because after reading that, I think your win of the week is I'm just going to read mine first because yours is freaking awesome. That's pretty cool too.
Okay.
I've acquired the skills and the knowledge to make old-fashioned donuts.
Like cake donuts?
Yes, sir.
Old-fashioned?
Yep. And I've learned how to make Krispy Kreme donuts.
Krispy Kreme donuts.
They're not that good. They're okay. They're good. They're not.
Krispy Kreme?
They're not Krispy Kreme. But I'm getting there. I'm tweaking the recipe here and there, and I've been making too many donuts. I've been getting out of control. That, and we've installed a lattice with vines and lights in the backyard. It looks so nice. I can't wait for you to come over.
Yeah, me too.
It's gonna be really beautiful. But what was your win of the week?
My win of the week is we just got back from Bora Bora, trip of a lifetime. And
Nice.
it really was. We were there for 6 nights of the 4 seasons in Bora Bora. Coolest vacation. I am like crazy tan right now, so looking great and tanned up.
I didn't go outside. I'm even whiter. Thank God for the color grading.
Thank God for color grading.
Yeah.
Yeah, but me and my wife got to take really just the trip of the lifetime to Bora Bora. Got to go and spend some time out there for a week together just to reconnect, have fun, eat really good food, stay outside, go swimming, go snorkeling, do all the things that we both love to do.
Yep.
So it was a great trip. And I'm happy to be back of the
Yeah,
five.
you're
We
not.
we didn't miss it. Yeah,
You loved Bora Bora.
I would definitely stay. But
If we could do the pod from Bora Bora, would you do it?
100%.
Yeah, we'd move there tomorrow.
Right now. Let's go. I live on the streets. It's fine.
But yeah, no, that's all. I'm glad you had a great time.
It was a great time, and my biggest thing is that we didn't miss any of the pods. That we were able to stay ahead on everything, and like clients were all happy when I left. Like, now that everything was good, I told them, like, I'm gonna be gone for a week. If you need anything, please reach out to my assistant. Everyone's like, please enjoy your vacation. Like, super cool.
Very cool. Well, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast, and make sure to tell a friend because that is the fee for the show. But yeah, I'm Dom. He's Chris, and we'll see you in the next one.
Monday.
Yeah.
Later.
Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.